All right, I have David and Valerie Mayfield on the line with us, and we're bluegrass country musicians. And Rick Dollar is here, and my name's Tony Dean.
Yes, sir.
How are you all doing?
Great.
We're doing fine.
Great.
I'm doing good, Tony.
I appreciate you all letting us interview you. How was your Easter?
Well, we had a good Easter. We took a little walk in the park. Took the dog out, the grandson out, and walked him.
All right.
It's pretty late back Easter, but I kind of liked it, you know.
Right. I just kind of did the normal thing, bush hogged a little bit.
Banded some cattle.
I guess if you all could tell us how everything got started. How did David and Valerie Mayfield build this team?
How we met? Yeah, that is on our website, but we tell it every time we play because one time I was playing, I think it was the Purple Fiddle down in Thomas, West Virginia, and someone shouted out, "Tell the story," and I thought, what is he talking about? And I said, oh, it's they're reading the story about us, and they thought it was kind of a neat story. And David and I first met at a Bluegrass festival. The whole thing was kind of neat because I didn't want to go out that night. My mother told me to go out, that I needed to get out of the house and maybe I'd meet someone. And it was later on that evening that I saw David standing on the other side of a campfire, and he was smiling at me and I was smiling at him, and we just walked towards each other and we took each other by the hand, and we didn't introduce each other or anything. We just took each other's hand like, I found you. And then we walked over.
Wow.
My brother was jamming, and my brother says, that's the man you got to marry right there. He's the best guitar picker and singer I ever heard. And then the joke was I let go of his hand right away because I said, you're a musician?
Oh, now come on. That's beautiful. You don't hear that every day. That's good.
About musicians, you know, I had to think that through for a little bit, and I thought, what the heck, you are kind of cute, so, you know.
But that was 135 years ago.
Yeah,
well, the same thing applies with radio people, too. We're not much to look at, but we sound good.
I always look better on radio.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So you said that you had a brother that's already in the business, too. Can you tell us about your brother, Valerie?
My brother he played the 5-string banjo. I grew up in a bluegrass band. My dad was on guitar, and my brother on the 5-string banjo, and I was on bass at that time. And I always wanted to play the mandolin, but they needed a bass player, and that was a good start-out instrument for me. But my brother had another band called Allen Creek Coal Company, and they started playing more of the progressive type of bluegrass, and they were really good.
Right. You really picked up the mandolin, too, I believe.
Dave was playing in a band called The Bottom Line, and there was a mandolin picker named Robbie Brake. And I was pretty much infatuated with the mandolin, although I loved it my whole life, and I loved Sam Bush playing and all that. But when I heard the way The Bottom Line played, it just blew me away, and I had to have a mandolin. So
right.
I told Dave when we got married, I said, I really want to have a mandolin. And he said, that's great. He said, if you want a mandolin, go get a job and get you one.
Right.
Yeah, she's got one.
Exactly. There you go. In the story.
By golly, I will. There's no true romance here. It's just more true.
Well, I tell you what, truth will stand when everything else is not. That's so true. Man.
But he is calling us the Bluegrass Sweethearts now.
Yeah,
right.
So.
We've been billing ourselves. Well, actually, it started out, and we played in Maryland's the Avalon Inn, and they put Bluegrass Sweethearts on the marquee. And we thought,
there you go.
Neat. So.
Yeah, because David and Valerie Mayfield's a lot to fit on a marquee, when it's not that. Yeah, when there's a lot of other acts that's following, later that week, how they do that, and they put more than one name on, and we thought, we were driving around where's this theater we're supposed to play, and then he goes, that's it, that must be us, the Bluegrass Sweethearts. That's us, okay. So we thought, that's kind of cool, so he went and bought the domain, bluegrasssweethearts.com.
Cool.
Yep.
I thought it was nice.
So my story is I started out playing music with my grandparents and my uncles who played for square dances every weekend. And my grandmother played the fiddle, my grandfather played guitar, my uncles played fiddle and guitar. And I always was surrounded by instruments, so I learned how to play that way. Then I started playing when I was 18 in different bands. I actually knew Jerry Douglas pretty well and played in his dad's band, the West Virginia Travelers. John Douglas and the West Virginia Travelers back in like 1972, 1973. And played in several different bluegrass bands, The Bottom Line being one of them. And I played in a band called Footsteps of Tradition, where we did all traditional bluegrass songs. And Valerie and I started a band called One Way Rider, and we played country music. And at the time,
bluegrass mix.
It was a bluegrassy country, but at the time, the line dancing was really big.
And there was good country
and
artists like Keith Whitley and Ricky Skaggs and Patty Loveless, everybody that
Marty Stuart, that
we could really, our voices could easily adapt to.
And so we ended up playing country music with the country band. We were playing 5-6 nights a week when the kids were really young. In the honky tonks, you know, and they were doing all the line dancing, and they had their bronking, the bulls they rode, and it was
carrying around a 24-channel board.
Yeah, we had our own carried a PA system.
175-foot snake. I was like,
oh man,
I don't miss those days. That was hard.
Yeah, it was intense.
To get in a house system, the ones that hired us as a house band, you know, permanently, so that helped.
Right. Did you all have some rough establishments you might have played for?
Yeah, some of them were.
Some of them much had a regular crowd, but then later on, owners started just hiring. They wanted to hire just Dave and I, and we thought that was pretty neat. And they said, "Yeah, we love your harmonies," and we're like, "Really?" And we're like, "Hey, well, that would be a lot easier." You know, because some nights when you have a whole band like that you're working with, everyone knows the drama. You know, someone may want to leave and can't make it, and all. Your biggest show is when something happens and someone can't be there, and you're like, and then they want more money, and they missed that big show, and so on. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So we just started the duet really back then. Actually, it was called the David Val Show, wasn't it?
Yep.
Right.
And then we did that for maybe 5 or 6 years, and then David started playing guitar and stuff. And when he started actually on the bass, I taught him how to play bass on a guitar.
We didn't have a bass.
We didn't have a bass at the time, and so we took one of my paychecks and went out and bought an electric bass guitar and a little amp, and then the very next show, he played bass with us. And
wow.
We actually he was 13, and we took him in a bar to play bass with us, and we weren't sure he could do it all night, and we hired another guy to come in that played guitar and bass too, just to help out, but David just tore it up.
Yeah, well, I respected the fact that he was a child. And actually, someone videotaped that, so we actually have his first show.
Yeah, his first show,
with us, and he did a really good job, but I never wanted to overwork the kids. You know, but they would end up, they play all the time. The way David was at home, he was always playing something, and for him to go to bed, we pretty much had to take an instrument out of his hand.
Right.
Wow.
You have to go to bed.
That's not bad, you know.
David's the reason I was actually able to hear you the first time, because he came to the Lincoln Theater in Marion, Virginia, and played with the David Mayfield Parade.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed his show and his really good guitar picking. And he mentioned the family, and you all came to Marion, and I met you there too. And you know, you all are, you know, a real special treat for this industry.
Well, thanks.
Thank you.
We started when David joined us. We kind of said, well, we don't want to be taking a 13-year-old in these honky tonks and bars every night, and we love bluegrass anyway. And at that time, the line dancing was starting to wind down, so we went full-fledged bluegrass.
Right.
And the kids were in homeschooling anyway. That's another story. The kids were in homeschooling because us playing music 5-6 nights a week, we could not get up and send them to school.
And also they were playing, and they couldn't miss only more than 3 days at a time. Even when we moved to Nashville, we had put Jessica in public school, and we had shows that were booked. I mean, we thought there, of all places, they would understand the performers having to leave and be on tour, but no, they couldn't miss more than 3 days, so we had to put her back in homeschooling. Right. And, you know, I can still remember her strumming her first guitar chords on old Bill Monroe's bus that we traveled in, which is
awesome. Bill Monroe's bus.
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding me, man. Oh my God.
Well, we bought it. We were actually working in Indiana at a show, and a fan contacted me from over in Ohio, and he said, I think there's this widow woman has a bus that I think you'd be interested in. You guys need to go over and check it out. It's some old performer's bus. And we went over, and she said, yeah, it's back there, and I'm sitting on blocks back in the backyard with a tarp over it, and we took the tarp down off of it, and it said Gary Brewer and the Kentucky Ramblers. And we said, oh, wow, we know them. We said, it is an old entertainer's bus. Pretty cool. And it was a 1956 Flex. And it had a new rebuilt 238 Detroit diesel.
Yep.
So that was the one thing we loved about it. You know, we didn't care. We thought, wow, it's steel. It's really solid. You know, the kids will be safe in there. It's a tank. And we thought, this would be great. And then we didn't know anything about the other story. The widow tried to tell us something about the story that her husband wanted to tell, was telling her, but she said she wouldn't listen. And they got in a big argument, and apparently this argument was noted at a Bluegrass festival because we had several people tell us about this, and she told us about it, so it's not like it was any secret. And people said, no, it's different to see an older couple in their 70s blow up at each other. I said, that might have been something to see. And she had said the story went as this, they each had retirement money, and he said she wanted to buy something, they wanted to buy themselves something big with it and, you know, and quit just sitting around and use their money for something worthwhile. And she bought a brand new car, and he wanted to buy this old bus. And she said, old man, if you buy this old bus, I'm fixing to leave you. And he said, well, old woman, be fixing out the divorce papers. I'm buying the old bus. And so of course they didn't get a divorce, you know, and they never said anything more about it. And he said, I want to tell you why I want to buy this old bus. And she just didn't want to hear about it. And unfortunately, he passed away, had a heart attack at a Bluegrass show. And, you know, she felt terrible. And she said, I wouldn't listen to the story that he wanted to tell me. And I know there's something about this old bus. And we thought, well, that's nice. And I said, give me a picture of him, and we'll put him on the bus. He can come with us. We're going to Nashville. And when we got to Nashville and pulled in with the bus, we were playing at Tootsie's along with Ricky Skaggs had this Bluegrass block party going on from the Ryman. And
right.
Yeah, and it was a big deal. And so they had cones for us to park the bus. And when we pulled the bus up, people came running up to the old bus and saying, we haven't seen this bus here in years. And we thought, what are they talking about? And they thought, could it really be something, you know, could this be really a Bill Monroe's bus or somebody's bus? And they came running over with an album from Ernest Tubb Record Shop, and there's our bus with Bill Monroe standing in front of it.
Oh, man. Wow.
And then everyone we met, Jack Green, Peter Rowan came to our house to tell us the stories of him driving the old bus. And for the most part, we still have the old bus.
And James Monroe came and looked at it and said that was his daddy's favorite bus.
Yeah,
it was called the Bluegrass Breakdown, and it broke down before we got it home.
It lived up to its name several times.
Yeah.
Several times we called a place we didn't intend to home. So,
yeah.
But
there's pictures of it on davidandvaleriemayfield.net.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Great.
Check that out.
My
we'll
dream
link to that.
is still to hope someday, because I don't want to just donate it. I want to do something with it. I'd really love to have maybe do a fundraiser. You know, it's just my dream of a venue, a place to put the bus inside.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, and have people come and tour it, because when we toured in it, we would advertise, like we'd be at Poppy Mountain and we'd say, you know, one-way riders going to be touring their bus between the hours of 2 and 3, and when I'd get off the stage and walk over to the bus, there'd be a line of people there
Oh,
we
man.
spend all day letting them on and off the bus. So I think it's really something that people would really want to see, and I do think it needs to be retired in a safe place, and stay within the family. And I'd also like to have a stage in the venue, and all the musicians we've known throughout the years. I've been MC on the side for many years, and I brought on worked with a lot of great artists, Sam Bush, David Grisman, Peter Rowan, Allison Brown,
Ralph Stanley.
Ralph Stanley.
Yeah.
Just about
Wow.
Ricky Skaggs, just about anybody you can name, we worked around them.
Right.
And so, I think that would be a great idea someday. I hope it can happen.
Yeah, Ralph Stanley has probably played. He's probably been to the Lincoln Theater in Marion, where I live, more than anybody else. I mean, he's still working. He's still working.
He's a road dog, man. This guy is going to stay doing what he likes to do.
Yeah.
End of statement. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah, well, that's what I would tell people when we would be working the kids' merchandise tables. And we had we moved back from Nashville to look after my folks here in Ohio when they were ill. And when they passed away, kind of young, I thought. And anyway, we had fallen into kind of regular jobs, and Dave and I weren't playing that often, or we'd get the family together maybe every 6 months. And that really wasn't enough, but we would work the kids' merch tables, and their fans would say, "Aren't you two playing anymore?" And I'd say, maybe we're too old. And then I thought, well, no, if they still want us, and look at the age limits in Bluegrass,
Right.
There is one, so
yeah.
Let's do it. Let's go back and do it. And we've been really hitting the road, burning up the road.
Yeah.
That's good, though, but can you sleep really good at night when you've done what you really wanted to do all day?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You can. There's no type of sleep like that. I can tell you from being in the radio business, getting out of the radio business, and now Tony and I getting back into a couple of ventures that we're doing right now. I've had the best sleep the past 30 to 45 days that I just can't explain. And being, I guess, in the music industry in a couple of different ways, it'll do the same thing to you. It's what you love, and it's inside of you, and it burns every day. And and as long as you stay true to what you're doing, you're going to get good things to come your way. I mean, there's stars to it.
Yeah, when I worked in the machine shop, I always told the guys in the machine shop, I said, this is work. When music is, they call it playing music, not work. Not work.
Exactly.
Right.
And no matter how good a job I did in the machine shop, nobody ever applauded.
And wanted your
I didn't get my picture taken with a bunch of pretty girls in the machine.
Exactly. Hey, I know what you mean there, man. That's some of the fringe benefits with being in the radio business. Hey, I got a face for radio, but hey, they still wanted to see what that voice looked like, So.
Yeah, sometimes Dave gets the girls screaming.
Hey. You're the man. You're doing your job then, sir.
Security, get away from me.
Oh, man. Hey, but life's grand. You got to love it,
Well, it's like we're having a really good time with it. And we just, we realized that we had to stop for a reason and look after my folks, and things changed.
Sure.
While we were doing that, that's when we told the kids to go on and keep playing, and they went off and got record deals, and we think that's great. And being on David Letterman and working hard, and all the people they've got to meet, like Robert Plant and, Buddy Miller, and just people that I wouldn't really think of meeting in the bluegrass world.
Taylor Guitars flew David out to California, and he got up and played with the Doobie Brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Awesome.
So,
incredible.
Big rock band, too, that got
David was in the audience at the Ryman, and Bare Naked Ladies was on stage, and they saw him and called him up on stage and gave him a guitar.
Cool. That was wonderful.
Incredible.
I've always
just got off touring with Seth David.
Wow.
Tribute to Elliott Smith, and we knew the Avett brothers from way back. That's another bunch that we brought on stage, and helped them get off the stage too, because people were trying to attack them. So.
Oh my God.
We backed up my Chevy S10 when I was on the board of directors out at Appalachian Uprising back when it was going strong, and I told him, I said, we got to help these boys and protect them. And so we backed up the truck to the back of the stage and yelled at them to jump in, jump in.
Oh, man.
Wow.
So tried to drive them to safety.
Drove them up to, their bus was parked quite a ways from the stage. We just drove them up to their bus and they jumped in.
That's you got to do what you got to do.
David's show is so entertaining. He could line a Vegas act or anything. I mean, it's comedy. It's comedy and great music.
Show the parade. They always say that's the best live performance I've ever seen because he's just funny and he's got good songs and he entertains.
Well, I'll tell him. I'll ask him. I'll say, why do you have to really do all of that? Because I said you're one phenomenal picker and singer. I said the way you just standing up there picking and singing, that's enough show. And he said, Mama, if somebody paid and bought a ticket, he said they're going to see a show they're going to remember. And I said,
okay, now, where do you think that he got that way of thinking?
Well, when we had the country band,
you know where he got it. He got it from you guys, okay?
We had the country
I'm
band.
not too good at somersault.
Yeah, we entertained too. Though we didn't somersault, but we were headbanging and we were dancing on stage and hanging out the edge of the stage picking. We entertained.
Some places would even tell us that I think they wanted us to be a little more toned down, but we really didn't have any certain way that we meant to play. We just enjoyed it so much, and we loved entertaining the folks. And you know how it is, the more the crowd is into it, the more you're into it.
When you're playing Hank Williams Jr., you can't just stand there and play it. You got to move.
Exactly. Now, when you guys are in, speaking of Hank Williams Jr., when you guys are in Nashville, my brother actually had a record deal for a while. And was in Nashville living. And he went to Tootsie's one night, just like you guys did. And you just brought this story to mind. You have to know about this. But my brother did a few songs, and he was putting his guitar up, and he left an amp sitting there.
Yeah.
And this guy walks up behind him, and my brother's not even looking at him. And the guy's like, hey, are you going to be here a while? My brother said, yeah, I guess. Why? He's like, do you mind if I borrow your amp? I'm going to do 3 or 4 songs, and, then I'm going to have to go. He said, well, sure. He turned around. It's Garth Brooks.
Wow.
Garth he had been retired and just really not doing anything for a while. And he would sneak off down there and, play a few songs on Friday or Saturday night and then go home. So
we have Tootsies. We have a similar story to that. When we lived in Nashville, we used to play the Station Inn a lot.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And when we played the Station Inn, there was a guy in the audience that used to watch us all the time, and his name was Dierks Bentley.
And he said he was
he was a fan of ours. Cool. And so on David's last CD, Dierks got a hold of David, and they did a duet.
Awesome.
Wow. On David's last CD. But and the first time we played Tootsies, we went to Nashville. And we left Ohio. It was in the winter, and we had our coats. So we got to Nashville when it's warm. We took our coats off and T-shirts. We were playing on the street, and the manager at Tootsie's came over and got us and said, "You come in here and get on stage." We played one song on stage in Tootsie, and somebody came up and gave us a $10 bill. And I thought, wow, this is great.
This is how you make money right here. Yeah.
Oh man.
Those kids went through a lot of hard times, so I don't want to sugarcoat it too much,
Yeah.
But a lot of hard times they stood out there and they picked, and that was the only money that we made to eat.
Right.
And a lot of times, as a mom, you feel terrible when you tell them, like gigs would cancel out. We did have a manager steal a lot of money that we didn't know we were making,
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I can imagine.
Well, one of the reasons was we would take deposits for gigs, and I was wondering why the gigs were getting, further few in between when we got to Nashville with this manager because, and us, we were pretty gullible, and we believed the guy to be true, and why would someone want to make fast money off of you when they could make money off of you continuously in the long run? But there's a lot of them, I guess. It's a very common thing there that they want to make a quick bunch of money off of you and then book. But he was taking deposits for shows and not telling us about the shows. And how I found out, my mother was still alive, and she would call me, and she'd say, hey, I've got people calling wondering why you're not showing up to your shows.
Oh, no.
And so that was really
man.
But, you know, it's not all as dreamy as you'd like to, you know, think it is, and that's another part of the music business.
My brother's manager lived in Nashville, a lady. I'm not going to mention her name because he's not affiliated with her anymore. But her next door neighbor was Marty Stuart, and he was over to her house one afternoon, and they were all cooking some food and eating and talking about what they were going to do the next few weeks and this and that. And Marty came over, and well, we'll put it this way: Marty had a couple of soda pops, and he wanted to go to Walmart, and she was like. Marty, I'm not taking you to Walmart. You need to go back home. And now, you know, I've met Marty Stuart. Marty Stewart's a heck of a musician, great guy.
Yeah,
I don't mean this in a negative light at all toward him, because I think he's probably one of the best entertainers I've seen. And just yeah, the aura of what he gives out to people, man. He's there for them.
Yep.
My brother's really soft-hearted, so he's like, okay, let's go to Walmart. So he gets in his van, and he drives him to Walmart. Marty gets in a little fracas with somebody that wants to take a picture with him. Mm-hmm. And one thing leads to another, and they call the police. My brother's standing there thinking, this cannot get any worse. I was trying to do something good, and now there's something not going to be good here. So the guy comes over, and he says, what's your name, son? And he told him, he said, my name is Matt Dollar, and I'm a musician. And he said, all right, Matt Dollar, pull out some identification. He had left his wallet on the counter at her house. So when your brother calls you at 3 a.m. and says, hey, guess what? I'm in jail with Marty Stuart.
Wow.
You're thinking, why is my brother lying to me? But my brother was telling the truth, because he sent me a copy of the mug shot.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I thought that. When you want to get your picture taken with him, right?
Oh, man, that's a rough way to have to hang out with Marty, though, for a while.
Yeah. Before I got to meet him, we supported him all year because we were opening for him. When we moved to Nashville, it was so funny because I just thought, oh, it's just a great big deal. We're opening for him. And then we pulled up to the gas station there, and I look over, and here comes this Cadillac, this older Cadillac, and this guy steps out in leather pants, and I see this long, puffy hair, and I said, oh, my God, it's Marty Stuart. He's pumping his own gas.
And he does. He used to mow his own grass. I don't know if he does now or not, but
I can't believe it. You know,
yeah, we actually lived on Pennington Bend for a while in Nashville.
Oh yeah,
real close to where Marty lives. I guess we were Marty and
Porter Wagner.
And Porter Wagner's house. You'd see Porter walk riding a bike down the street, and
just the following, we'd be trying to leave, and we'd be trying to be so polite because he was getting up there and. You know, I was afraid he was, going to get hurt on that bike or something. But that's how we're suing for riding a bike.
That's it.
Yeah, that was something.
Oh man.
And then we realized, you live down here, you got to live with him. You see it all the time, so.
Exactly.
But like I said, we moved back up here to Ohio, just like I said, to look after my folks, and we'd still kind of like to maybe live down there. Actually, where I'd really love to live is Marion, Virginia.
That's the best spot. Yeah.
Wow. How many times have you guys been to Bristol?
A lot.
Many times. I love Bristol.
Have you really? Now, where do you play normally when you come to Bristol, Tennessee, or Virginia?
Well, we played Bristol Rhythm and Roots.
Right.
Sugarland Shines had us there, and then we play a lot for the Pick and Porch and for Tim White's radio show.
Right.
There, so we loved them that, and Tim is so good.
Did Wolf's Brewery.
And
right. I know where that's at.
And Holstein.
Oh yeah, now there's a new. Well, there's like 1 or 2 more going up around here too. I mean, those microbreweries are jumping up everywhere.
And then the last place we played down there was Bonefire Barbecue.
Oh really?
And they want us to make it they're our place to play when we come
Yeah,
down
so
there.
we can't be playing every single place in Bristol because they are in competition with each other. So
oh, they all are. Let me tell you, it's amazing.
And we don't want to do that. Like say, oh well, why would someone come see us here when they just saw them there? So we don't take it for granted that you want to come see us every single weekend or every other day. So we're like, we understand that, and that's another thing about, like, we're doing our own bookings and so forth because Dave's doing most of the bookings, and it's so much easier than back in the old days, when...
Right.
And I love that, being able to send someone a live video, and here you are, this is it,
This is what we do.
How many sets have you done in a day? I mean, I see you working really hard.
Yeah, we try to... We didn't have a lot of shows in April. We kind of took that off, but we still have 3 shows.
Well, I know. I told him. I said it's supposed to be our month off, and you put 3 shows in because we need to make a CD and a video, and just mostly revamp, like order T-shirts and stickers and posters and flyers and kind of stuff, and because he's just when you're doing it and it's all you do for a living, and you're not famous, you can't stop. You just have to keep going. Yeah, and work everything and anything. And
we're trying to get back on the festival circuit. We just started touring again back last November, 14 months ago. And it's really hard to get in these festivals because you have to be at the right place at the right time with what you're selling, and they have to know who you are. And years ago, One Way Rider was playing some big festivals, but David and Valerie Mayfield knew. So we've got
it's starting all over again.
We've got the festivals coming up, but it's hard to get into them.
And I really think once we get in, we'll be okay, because I was just tickled to death that when we sent out a video that places wanted us, and that was a really good feeling, And it was like that's one thing we still have going for us, I guess. We can still pick and sing, and I think we'll do it as long as we can do it. Sometimes he gets to picking a little too fast, though. I think, Mom's going to
smile. Yes.
I guess I can go ahead and play one of your songs if you want to pick. You sent me a 3.
Willow Garden?
Willow Garden. Well, Willow Garden, that's like an old-timey song that, and believe it or not, I loved this song as a child. My dad used to sing it all the time. And he was originally from Glady Fork, Virginia. And he was born up in the hollers. And he met my mama over in Kentucky. They were right there on the line together, and he had some of these old mournful songs that I don't know. I just thought they were really good, but it hits close to home. I mean, it's like the typical old-timey song. I always tell somebody it's not for the weak at heart. It has some poisoning in it and some murder, and I don't know if it's radio worthy.
That's real life right there, man.
Those old-timey songs they had, they were all like that, They were.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't even think of that as a child. I just liked more or less the melody and the way, the tune went, basically, and the way my daddy would sing it. And that's pretty much the way I tried to duplicate it. It was actually an old Charlie Monroe wrote the song, and the Monroe brothers were a duet for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought it was a pretty cool way, and I requested Dave as he picks his break to pick it the old, Monroe style a little bit, So if you want to spin that one, that one's fine. I like Wild Horses, too. I think Dave does a really good version of that.
That's a good
song. We don't care.
Here's Willow Garden by David and Valerie Mayfield from Steal My Heart.
My love. looking down at his own dear son upon the scaffold high. My race is run beneath the sun, hell's just waiting for me, for I did murder that dear little girl whose name was Rose Cotton Lee. My race is run beneath the sun, hell's just waiting for me, for I did murder that dear little girl whose name was Rose Conley.
When we play Wild Horses, we do a little bit of comedy in our
we think it
in our
is.
set. And before I do Wild Horses, I always say, this is a song I used to perform many years ago when I was in the Rolling Stones. He looks around like, yeah, right.
Now, I'll say, really, is there anybody in this audience that can verify that fact that he would actually, did the song with the Rolling Stones? And every time.
Yeah, 2 or 3 people.
Somebody jumps up and just...
Yeah, I remember.
Great.
And
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and then we do Wild Horses, which is, I love that song, Wild Horses.
Childhood living, it's easy to do things that you wanted, I bought them for you. Graceless lady, you know who I am. You know I can't let you slide through my hands. Wild horses couldn't drag me away. Wild, wild horses, we'll ride them someday. Wild horses couldn't drag
We always try to have a little bit of comedy, and people say we have a comical banter between each other, and we
didn't really know.
We're just being ourselves.
We are, yeah.
Okay, you're married. You're married, and how long have you guys been married now?
135 years.
Well, you're doing really good if you still got the comedy thing going. I can tell you that.
All right, that's
Oh my goodness.
All right.
Well, you guys are a hoot. I'll tell you one thing. When you come to Bristol, Tennessee, or Virginia, I'm going to find out about you, and I'm going to find you.
I think we have one show. I don't see it on my schedule, though. I booked another show at the Bonefire.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it on my schedule, so I got to look at my calendar and update it.
Okay.
We have about 4 dates we've not uploaded yet.
I got you.
When folks visit and watch David and Valerie Mayfield, they need to buy the CD.
Oh yeah.
Get some of their materials that they sell at their shows.
Yeah, you can buy it on ValerieMayfield.com.
Mm-hmm. This is the thing that got my brother and my whole family involved in the music business too. It was once you made some friends, and I guess you could call them fans, but mostly they were friends. The people that enjoy to come see it, and no matter where you're playing, they're going to find you and they're going to be there.
Yeah.
And when you find that you have people like that following you around, they're going to support you.
Yeah.
They understand what you're doing. I mean, Tony and I both have a real understanding of what you're trying to do, and that was one of the good things about trying to get to talk to you guys, because we want everybody else to know just exactly how hard it is to make it in this industry these days.
Well, it's very hard.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like I said, when we started, so we basically started as a duet, and then we had the 7-piece country band, and then the family band, and now we're back to a duet. So we like to think of it as circles traveled, and it really is a kind of romantic thing, and it's the two of us back out there working hard. We'll talk to the kids, and we'll tell one, break a leg, and we're all in different states. And for a few minutes, I almost feel like we're connected again,
Exactly.
Yeah, so, it's tough out there, and being older, it makes it tougher, but I also think it makes us stronger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, every one of your kids and relatives and your people in your family, even if they don't tell you sometimes, they've got to have the most respect for you guys, because you've taught them something that they can use forever. Not just a life lesson, but you've given them a talent also from them.
Yeah. We've tried.
I mean, it sounds to me like you've done a great job, okay? I mean,
When we were in homeschooling, we made sure that they could read
and write
extremely well, and how to count money. They didn't need algebra so much, but or trigonometry, but we taught them how to read and write and count money. And actually, when David was 13 years old, we were going to make our first CD, or actually they weren't CDs back then; they were cassettes and records.
Oh no!
We made a cassette, and David was 13, and he was in homeschooling, so I said, David, you're going to be the producer, so I want you to learn how to produce records. So he went to the library and brought home a stack of books, and he produced our first CD.
Wow.
Now he is a not Grammy-nominated producer. He's produced thousands of people's CDs, but he did his very first one at 13. And
he's going to be doing the next one, too. And I loved it when he was on, he's hosted the Jim Lauderdale show a couple times.
That was on Music City Roots.
Yeah, Music City Roots. And, sort of the same thing, I guess. I don't know why I think of that. But anyway, I loved it when they was being interviewed, and Vince Gill was on one of the recordings, the one that he was nominated for a Grammy, Second Wind, I believe is the CD was called. And he said, the announcer asked him, he said, I heard, Vince Gill, I heard he was over at your house. And David said, yeah, he was. And he goes, and the announcer said, well, he's here today. And David goes, is he really? I need to talk to him. Some things came up missing that day. Give me an idea of how cool that must be to have him come over to your house, and I get to see Vince laughing over that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but Jessica told us, Mom and Dad, when we first started back into it, it was kind of scary because we'd been out of it for so long and not really just head back into the old school way of just touring hard and trying to survive with it. And we really, Dave and I have to really pull together more than, we became super best friends and more as a really tight team. And I'm really enjoying that. And Jessica told us, she said, Mom, she said, if you play a show somewhere and 5 people see you, she said, just remember, those 5 people will tell 5 more people. And the next show you'll have 10 people. I believe that all.
Oh, yeah, that's so true.
She's got a packed house every time she plays, so maybe she knows what she's talking
about. She has a very unique voice, and I really like to hear Jessica sing.
Thank you. When David first brought her to play, when she we knew she sang all the time. I have a video of her when she's only a little tiny baby singing Old MacDonald Had a Farm. I said I'd probably catch that in, but David and I were trying to make a demo on a VHS tape, and we just found it not too long ago where Jessica, she's like about 4, 5,
3 or 4, yeah,
and she just starts, dancing in front of us and just stealing the show. And I said, this is fantastic. This is great. Trying to make a demo tape on a VHS tape at home, back in our younger years, and she's only like 4 years old, and she steals the show. We should have seen that coming. But
exactly. That's what I'm saying. You guys have given these kids something that's you can't put a price on any of this,
Well, I tell you, it's kind of strange thing to say, but we have been thanked many times for having them.
Great.
I can see that.
Okay. There's an old there's a kind of a quartet song that I like from the One Way Rider. Do you know the name of that? It's When the World's on Fire, I think.
When the World's on Fire is the name of it.
Yeah, now Jessica's pretty young back on that one, so more of a child's voice there. So
yeah, Jessie was
kind of neat to hear, though. We just played that not too long ago on the road, just listened to it ourselves.
Yeah, that's one of the songs we do when we get the family together too. That's one of the ones we always do.
You can just hear the beautiful quartet sound, and you all were really hitting everything right at that time.
We actually made a gospel CD years ago too. It's no longer a print, but it was all gospel, and half of it was a cappella gospel, and we used to love that.
Well, when the world's on fire and the angels coming to bear my soul away, I'm gonna cushion my head on the bosom of God and live with Him always. Into that great getting up morning when the dead in Christ shall rise, I'm gonna cushion my head on the bosom of God and meet Him in the sky. In the good book we are told of a land so bright and fair. In the good book we are told that the Lord will meet us there. So won't you plan to meet Him on that eternal day? I'm gonna cushion my head on the bosom of God and live with Him always. Well, when the world's on fire and the angels coming to bear my soul away, I'm gonna cushion my head on the bosom of God and live with Him always. Into that great getting up morning when the dead in Christ shall rise, I'm gonna cushion my head on the bosom of God and meet Him in the sky. Boom, 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 bop, boom, bop, bop, boom, 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 bop, boom, bop, bop, boom, 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 bop, boom, bop, bop, boom, 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 bop, boom, bop, bop, boom, 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 bop, boom, bop, bop, boom, 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 bop, boom, bop, bop. I'm gonna cushion my head on the bosom of God and live with Him always. Well, when the world's on fire and the angels coming to bear my soul away, I'm gonna cushion my head on the bosom of God and live with Him always. Into that great getting up morning when the dead in Christ shall rise, I'm gonna cushion my head on the bosom of God and meet Him in the sky.
And we could really nail the a cappella stuff.
Right.
David was a big fan of Doyle Lawson.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I love Doyle Lawson.
David was an excited.
And we've met
David,
Doyle. Doyle's a really nice
we know
guy.
David actually got up and sang with Doyle Lawson Quartet. That's on YouTube.
Yeah.
But he was an encyclopedia of it. He knew more about Doyle Lawson than Doyle Lawson knew about Doyle Lawson. He knew all the songs and all the parts, and that he just loved it. That he was the driving force of us doing the a cappella gospel music.
Well, it's funny. We were parked at where was that playing? At Bean Blossom.
We were at Bean Blossom.
Our buses were parked beside. Our bus was parked beside Doyle Lawson's, and there was a little girl there at Bean Blossom. I forget if it was Dillman's little girl or something, but her and Jesse were playing and running around inside the gift center, and she was telling her story. Jessie has a cat that was on our bus that she had named after Doyle Lawson, named Doyle, of course. And the little girl ran over and told Doyle about it on his bus, and he comes over, knocks on our door, and he says, "I want to meet that little girl and see that little cat that's named after me." I said, "Well, you really are." I did that pretty down to earth. I couldn't find it out. He liked cats, and he was all into that. He thought that was pretty cool. And then we were all been friends. And David got up with him on stage and sang one of the quartets with them. And Dave's written a couple of gospel a cappella songs. So it was actually the kids that David would be driving on the road for so long, and Dave would just start singing, "Well," and just kick off a song, and then we just all start jumping in there and singing.
Yeah, pick out our parts. I'd sing bass, and then David sing bass on the next one, and
yeah, we never worked. It was never really our idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
So my parents would always play the WCYB Gospel Sing Jubilee. I like all types of music, but I really do respect those a cappella quartets, and
they're the best.
That sound, so
yeah.
It's really good.
When I was a kid, I used to listen to the Grand Ole Opry on AM radio, and then the Wheeling Jamboree. And now we've played the Wheeling Jamboree like 5 times, and they are actually inducting us into the Wheeling Jamboree in October.
Right.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I listened to the Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs on the early morning radio show. It woke me up every morning, like about 5:30 a.m. Martha White.
Wow. Now, I had a friend of mine, Jack Witt, that I knew out of Richlands, Virginia, and his dad, they lived up in a holler back in Baptist Valley, and we woke up one morning, we were going to go deer hunting up in there, and Jack said, "We're going to go up by this cabin here in just a minute in the holler." And, we were way back there.
Mm-hmm. And
he's like, but my Uncle Doug's up here, so just be careful. We don't want to wake him up. Well, we go up by the cabin there, and here he is sitting on the front porch. I see this old guy sitting on the front porch playing a fiddle.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just enjoying himself, man, and it's maybe 5:30 in the morning. And I don't know if you've ever heard of him or not, but his name was Doug Witt.
Doug Witt.
He used to win the Tazewell County fiddling competition every year, and I had no idea then who I was talking to.
Wow.
But Doug Witt played with Flatt and Scruggs all the time.
Wow.
They used to come up there and get Doug. They'd go up Fred's property, his brother, and they'd say, "Is Doug up in the cabin?" Doug would go to the cabin. He wouldn't come out.
Wow.
Yeah, well, let's go get him. We need to go do 2 or 3 shows. We got to have Doug. And man, he could just write a ticket. But this guy played with so much heart and feeling. Had a little family thing up there with him or whatever. We'd kill a pig on Thanksgiving Day, and Doug would come out, and we'd all be tired. End of the day, man, Doug would bring that fiddle out, and it'd be over. We'd go just as far as we could go into the next day.
Wow.
Doug was incredible fiddle player. And when Doug passed, Jack came and got me one morning, and he said, "We don't have anybody to dig Doug's grave because he got buried back there near the cabin."
Uh-huh.
And we had to go dig his grave.
Wow.
with shovels. And I thought, man, this guy's given so much to the music business, and it's kind of humbling. He's going to be buried back here. 3 weeks after we buried him, the Fiddle Players Association of America came up there and brought a 6-foot bronze marker.
Wow.
And put on this guy's grave on top of this hill.
Wow.
And it was just surreal. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. Finally, he got a little bit of credit for all the good stuff that he did. Yeah. And it was just because Doug never really got out and didn't like all the people around and stuff like that. But, man, he loved to play the fiddle.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Oh, it was amazing.
We had experience with Vassar Clemens
yeah.
before he died. We were playing at the Nelson Ledge's Quarry, and they had big festivals there. And they booked us a show, and they booked us up. They wanted to book Vassar Clemens, but he needed a band, so they hooked us up with Vassar, and we played a show there with Vassar.
And we got along great.
And we got along great, and he loved the old bus.
My father had just passed away, and yeah, he got on that old bus. And Sam Bush's bus they had a newer bus right there parked over there, and I figured Vassar would be over there all night, and I totally understood because ours had no air conditioning or anything, no perks. And so next thing I know, I hear somebody fiddling around, and I come out the bedroom door, and there's Vassar standing there, pouring water out of a jug into the coffee pot, making a pot of coffee. It's so great. He's so down to earth. And he, I can still see him tapping his pipe out, just standing there and telling us stories about the old bus. And we got to be really good friends. And we talk about every single night. And then he was working some shows with us. And it was basically our fiddle player anytime we needed him. And then, sadly, he got sick and passed away. So,
right,
really sweet guy, and I just.
Yeah, and I have to say this, everything that I've ever been through in the music industry, you become a family.
Right.
Yeah.
You take everybody's faults, and I don't call them faults anymore. I just call them characteristics. Because I got a bunch of characteristics, but
Yeah.
But these guys were.
And country, that I don't know so much, but the Bluegrass is definitely they all watch out for each other, and they're all family.
They are. I mean, Doug had so many friends, and like I said, we've seen them going back to the cabin before, and they may stay 2 or 3 days. Man, they'd go hunting, they'd go fishing, they'd eat. I mean, they lived life, and it was just a wonderful place and time.
I think Kenny Baker, he lives back in the hills in a cabin too.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because
that's my dream. I'm gonna live. You guys got to get me a cabin down there.
Same here.
Just tell us when you got it. We'll be down there. We'd be very happy with that. I told him I want one of those tiny houses. You seen those tiny houses?
You want to live in one of those?
Downsized. I said our luck would be on the road and come back and somebody took our tiny house, and stay with it.
Man, that sounds. That sounds like a song right there.
They would have to. They'd have to build a tiny house around me.
And it's just like we feel like we're real close to you all now. Is that and Dave said it. He says it every day. We try to carry our business cards with us, and it mentions our kids on the back of the cards and how to find them and contact them, and our name on the front. And we proudly display it as the parents of just
there you go.
And David Mayfield of David Mayfield Parade, and we tell them. Yeah. We try to make a friend every day, and it could be at the truck stop, it could be at our shows,
at the bank,
at the restaurant.
That's right.
Stores. We just start yamming it up to someone. If they're talkative and they feel like talking, then we just thought, well, hey, let's make them one of our friends. Are you on Facebook? And now we're friends forever, and I really enjoy doing that.
Yeah, that's a good part of life, man. I turned 46 this year. And I don't know for what reason or whatever, but the past couple of years, man, I've just kind of mellowed out about things, and I've thought more of not like, what can I do to make this work now and faster or whatever. I just try to do things right,
Right.
Do it so somebody's going to remember you, or maybe you're going to make an impression on somebody today.
Well, think someone somewhere is listening to one of your songs. And
That's right.
We had that happen. We had that happen at a festival a long time ago. Many years, I don't know, back when the kids were little, we were playing a festival in West Virginia. And I didn't like our time spot. We were on real early. You know, of course, nobody sees us. And I was feeling really down and actually feeling sorry for myself, right? And I go walking back through a field, and I'm just kind of kicking up my heels like, oh, golly gee, you know. And then this woman sitting in a car, and she starts yelling at us, and she goes, oh, my God, you're walking right here through the field. I can't believe it. I'm listening to your CD right now. And, you know, she just made me feel so great. And she goes, can I get your autograph? And I'm like, yeah, this is great. And I thought, you always got to think about that you don't know it or don't realize it, but if you put your music out there, and when we're feeling down, do you ever think about when you're listening to an artist's music at that moment, you know, how they might be feeling or something, you know? You always think
exactly.
That, right?
Yeah, that's great.
I thought that's a good way to remember that. I always remember that if you leave anything, you know, someone's listening to your music, that's a big compliment right there, you know?
Right. Well, I guess we need to wrap this up. Appreciate you all. Allowing us to interview. Maybe one day we can interview David and Jessica.
Yeah.
I think I know somebody that knows them, so maybe we can get that hooked up.
You do.
We have just a little bit.
Just a little.
Exactly.
I can't work miracles. Okay.
So when is the tour starting back? And tell us about that video, and we'll let you have the last words.
Back out. We have a couple shows in Akron. We have one show in Akron coming up this Saturday, and we have a show in Pennsylvania the next Saturday. And then we're starting back on tour May 1st. We're going to be at Spring Pickin' Festival in Millmont, Pennsylvania. Then we're going to be, the next big show is the Jewel City Jamboree in Huntington, West Virginia. We're back down to Gatlinburg, the Sugarland Shines, all over the place again. Bluegrass Festival called the Bluegrass and Blueberries Festival in La Hosca, Pennsylvania. And we got the Ohio State Fair.
You know, just go to our website, and it's all that'd be easier than him trying to read this entire list.
Right. We'll link to your site there and everything.
There,
share back.
You know, pick what songs you want to play. We appreciate you playing them. And we've really enjoyed talking to you tonight. We thank you so much for thinking of us and trying to support us. It really means a lot to us.